Joining me now is House Minority Whip Steve Scalise. Thank you so much.
Hey, good to be with you, Kayleigh.
Congressman, Washington Post headline, I mean, all the headlines are really interesting to watch the evolution in these final days. Democrats scramble into defensive posture in final stage of midterms, and they note that $6.3 million has poured into New York, into New Jersey. These are areas where President Biden won by about 8%. Jill Biden, you have her in Rhode Island. This is a district where President Biden won by 14%. This has to give you some encouragement that that gavel will be going from Nancy Pelosi to you guys.
Yeah, and I just returned from a swing through the Northeast, was in New York actually earlier today, campaigning for a number of our candidates. Yesterday we were in Boston campaigning for Alan Fung, who's a great candidate, is going to win in the New England states. We've got probably 5 seats in New England that can flip from Democrat to Republican, when today we have none. You were referencing earlier Washington State and Oregon. I was there not too long ago, and you feel the momentum on the ground there too for our candidates who are going to flip seats in the Portland area. So something real is happening out there. People are rejecting the big government socialism of Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi. There's a lot of excitement for our commitment to America, the plan that we put out to actually show the country how we would deal with inflation and lower energy costs and secure America's border. You know, the bold conservative vision for fixing the problems that Biden and Pelosi created. And interestingly, I think Pelosi had left the country. None of these candidates that I'm campaigning for want, their opponent doesn't want Nancy Pelosi in their districts, yet they're voting with Pelosi 100% of the time. People are fed up with the big government socialism and how much it's costing them when they go to the grocery store or at the gas station.
There's no doubt they are, and you have been all over. You were just in Detroit, and you were campaigning against Elissa Slotkin. She was one of 31 Democrats to help that wave towards Democrats in 2018. But you might be sidelining some big Democrat rising stars like Slotkin. I mean, this has a potential to wipe out a young generation of Democrats if this red wave is indeed a tidal wave, which that's what I foresee.
And really what the voters there are saying is that they wiped out themselves by voting with Pelosi against the wishes of their districts. You know, you go to Michigan, people are struggling, and they're angry that they're paying more for everything. And Slotkin voted right down the line with Pelosi on all of those bills that are raising costs, raising taxes, more than doubling the size of the IRS. That's not what people want, yet that's what Slotkin voted for. And it's one of the reasons she will get defeated, and so many other Democrats who voted for all of those policies that have wrecked our economy. You know, we need to get our economy back on track. We need to secure America's border. People are also fed up with the crime wave that you're seeing going around the country. Again, this came up in Portland a few days ago. It came up in New York today. Crime is out of control. It's why I think Lee Zeldin's going to be elected the governor of New York. I mean, that doesn't happen in normal times. Democrats have gone so far with both defund the police and cashless bail. Voters are rejecting all of that radical policy, and that's why our candidates are doing so well, because they're talking about those issues that people are afraid about, with the things that people are angry about. And the Democrats created these problems and won't confront them or work with us to fix them.
Congressman, the Democrats seem to have just discovered the economy. We didn't hear them talk about it all too much until recently. But specifically, their internal polling was showing that attacks on Social Security and Medicare were working. It's why when Joe Biden gave a 34-minute speech at the DNC, he mentioned these entitlement programs 11 times. In an October 18th memo, Nancy Pelosi, again, mentioning these entitlements. Can you set the record straight? They're trying to say Republicans will get rid of these. Can you let us know exactly where the party stands?
Yeah, it's unreal how desperate they are that they're willing to just lie and say things that aren't even are things that we would do. They talk about Social Security. Frankly, they're the ones that jeopardize Social Security. Things like paying people not to work cost trillions of dollars, you know, when they're paying $35,000 a year in some cases for a person to sit at home, when everybody you talk to is looking for more workers. And so not having millions of people paying into Social Security has made it less secure. We want to strengthen Social Security and Medicare, and those programs are both in jeopardy because of Democrat-run policies. And of course, they just want to continue trying to scare people. Nobody's buying it. They keep saying things like the border's secure. Does anybody believe that? When the president brags about signing a bill that he called the Inflation Reduction Act that actually dramatically increases spending and doubles the IRS, people know what that means, and they're rejecting big government socialist policies like that.
Yeah, they've tried this going back to the days when Mitt Romney was the nominee on entitlements. It hasn't worked. It's a tired talking point. But Congressman, one of the things I hear most from Republicans is when you get the gavel, when the Republican Party gets the gavel, what are your plans for investigations into Hunter Biden, into COVID-19, into the cover-up at the southern border, into Afghanistan? Is there anything that Republicans, while in the minority now, are doing to prepare for investigations when in the majority?
Yeah, we've talked about the important role that oversight will have in a Republican majority. And look, Pelosi doesn't want to hold President Biden accountable for all of these failures because they're trying to cover up for it. And so we've already, our members who will be the chairman of these committees are already asking these questions of the agencies. Get us the information on all of these things. They won't give it to us now, but in the majority, we'll actually have subpoena power to find out answers like how many people really came across our border illegally? Which states have they been sending them to? Biden's administration knows that. They just won't tell anybody. They'll have to tell us that. In the majority, you talked about the origins of COVID. Clearly, there are a lot of questions about what happened in that Wuhan lab. Was there American taxpayer money going to fund gain-of-function research? A lot of scientists have said they think that's the case, but Biden and Pelosi have hidden that information. We're going to be digging into all of those questions, and we've already put the agencies on notice. If you think you're going to be able to hide this information, start getting it ready now. Don't wait till January and say, oh, we didn't know you wanted that. We're asking for the information now when we're in the majority. Hopefully they will do it willingly. If not, there will be subpoena power to get those answers that the American people want asked. And frankly, look at Afghanistan, the debacle in Afghanistan. Not only the loss of American lives, our 13 soldiers who died because Biden pulled out in such a haphazard way, but he also left behind what is reported to be $85 billion in the world's best military technology and gave it to the Taliban, a terrorist organization. We've never got a full accounting for that. Why did they leave it behind? Who was in the room that made a decision when they controlled the date to leave? If you've got C-130s left behind, why not load them up with all of those night vision goggles and the ammo and the weapons and send it back to America? Why leave it to a terrorist organization? China's in there right now trying to go through and learn how we made all of this technology, these weapons, that might be used against American troops down the road. That was not just malpractice. That's stuff that a lot of people have been asking about. They just won't tell us now. They're going to have to give those answers in a majority where we're asking those tough questions.
A lot of people want those answers. And last question for you. You're minority whip now. A lot of people are putting your name out for House Majority Leader, potentially a huge role. Can we count on a Republican majority to send bills to Biden's desk? I know there's limits in what you can do when you don't have the presidency, but to draw this contrast between the Biden agenda and the very clear agenda that's been laid out by McCarthy and the Republican Party.
Yeah, what Kevin McCarthy, myself, our whole membership did is put that on paper in the Commitment to America and said, if we get the Republican majority in this election in just 12 days, this is what we will do. You can see what the first 100 days will look like, the first 6 months. We will bring bills to the House floor and pass them to confront inflation, to secure America's border, to lower energy costs. Let us make our own energy again so we don't have to get it from foreign nations. Pass a Parents' Bill of Rights so that parents can have more of a say in their kids' education without being deemed a domestic terrorist by the Biden administration. Those are the kind of things that we are running on right now. If our candidates get elected, which I think they will over the country, then that means there's a mandate. And I don't know if we'll have a Republican Senate or not. I think we will. But either way, we want to send those bills over to the Senate. President Biden will actually have to answer. Will he sign or veto the bills to lower costs for families? And if he says he'll veto it, I think the country then knows what they need to do in 2024. But we're going to give him that opportunity. We're going to pass those bills through the House. And I think there's a lot of interest. I see people get most excited when I start talking about those items in the Commitment to America, the things we will do to fix these problems that they created. That's an issues-based campaign. That's frankly, I think, what people have been hungry for a long time. And these bold conservative ideas are what will save our country. Give us the majority to pass them through the House. Put pressure on the Senate. Put pressure on President Biden to support those bills as well. And I think the country is going to be very engaged starting in January when we move those bills. But they have to vote in 12 days. And I think you're going to see record voting all across the country to fire all these people that have been joining with Pelosi to vote for this big government socialism and elect these great Republican candidates we have. It's exciting to meet them on the ground because we've got phenomenal candidates. And I think you're going to be excited when you see them all get elected and what kind of new Congress it's going to look like in just a few months.
Well, Congressman, I know crisscrossing the country is not easy work. You have a lot of people cheering you on, myself included. Thank you for trying to bring that bold conservative vision back to Washington.
Thanks so much, Kayleigh. Appreciate being with you.